basically what we have here is a nitrous cart. We've got a couple of tanks of nitrous, a couple of tanks of oxygen, and then a digitized flow meter up here. Right. So what we'll do is we'll plug it in the back. Looks like this was locked up, which is great. And then so all I did was unlock that. I slid this forward just in case. And then there's a little key hanging on here, and we want to open up the case. So basically what we will do is open up one of each tank, okay, and then there'll be indicators here if those tanks end up getting low. There are actually gauges here as well. Okay. I'll also let you know that it's much more likely that you'll run out of oxygen than you will run out of nitrous. You're using about 2 to 2.5 times as much oxygen as you are nitrous. The other thing that's interesting is if you happen to slide these open and look at the physical gauges, the oxygen is actually going to give you quite an accurate reading, but because nitrogen is a liquid, it really doesn't give you an accurate read until it's very, very low. So that's just one of the natures of that beast. So what you would generally want to do is if you're working on one tank, you call maintenance and see if they can get another tank in there for you, just in case the other one happens to be empty. If it runs out in the middle of the procedure and it's all you've got, you're probably going to have, and I hate to be this vague, but it would be anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes left of nitrous. Again, one of the benefits of nitrous in terms of how the patients are going to respond to it is if they start feeling like they're having some sort of wooziness or whatever, you just turn off the nitrous and let them breathe normal oxygen for a couple minutes, and they're good to go. So even if you run out of actual oxygen here, sometimes you'll have it elsewhere in the facility also, but that's one of the great things about it, just kind of naturally flushes out. All right, so any questions on that? You just kind of turn on those keys. So then we will power that up. All right, so just a power button here. Has anybody used the flow meters where there's kind of dials on either side?
It's in the box.
What's that?
It's in the box, the dials.
Well,
Thank you.
no, I'm just saying this one happens to be a digital flow meter. If not, there's kind of ones with dials on the side. So basically what you're doing here is this is going to tell you the percentage of nitrous, and this is going to tell you the total flow that's coming through. So right now it's generally going to start at about 5 liters per minute. And that's, an average starting point for an adult. You may turn that down, you may turn that up, but this right now would just go with oxygen, as it is no nitrous percentage there. The nice thing about this digital flow meter is, let's say you get up to a 50% nitrous. It can go no higher than 70%, by the way. But once you get up to about 50, that would be, for most people, that will kind of really get them where they need to be. You may not even be at 50%. Again, depending on your training, you may go right to there, go right to 50%, or a lot of people tend to like to titrate it, so they'll start maybe with 20%, and every 30 seconds or so give them an extra 5% until they start feeling the effects and kind of give you those indications. So at that point, once you feel like you're at the right percentage, all you've really got to look for here is that this bag is inflating properly. It's not too distended. If it's really filling up, they're not actually breathing all that in. You're just really kind of wasting gas. So at that point, if it's really staying extremely full, you kind of back the flow down. Also, the other side of the spectrum, if they're collapsing it completely, then you want to turn the flow up just a little bit, because that's just kind of telling you how much they're capable of breathing in. So again, for an adult, a general rule would be maybe about 5 liters of flow. Kids, you might go down to 3, what have you. So, but any questions on that? Really, so again, this is going to kind of control the flow, and this is going to control the percentage. And the nice thing about this flow meter is that once you have the percentage set, you can do whatever you want with the flow and it will automatically adjust the nitrous. So you kind of set this first and then set the flow afterward. There is, depending on what you have for a mask here, there is an ability
Dr.
to
Courtney
do kind of
Berenson,
an
please
oxygen
call
flush. If
5143.
you, again,
Dr.
if you want to
Courtney
just give them a
Berenson,
real big hit of oxygen,
5143.
you can do it straight out of there. Well, we have, we have disposable masks in here. I'll kind of pass these around. Really the only thing you want to look for on the disposable mask is that there's a little white filter in there. If that's in there, it's going to work just fine. If it happens to have been bumped out or it's not there, then you're going to be like, wow, I'm at 70% and I've got 9 liters of flow and they're not feeling it. Well, it's just all escaping out. So that'll kind of give you a little bit of a crease there, kind of a little bump action when they're kind of breathing that out if you want to kind of see if they're physically breathing through the mask. But again, one of the nice things is it's designed for dental is it's really just going to go in the nasal cavity and then it would allow them to talk and do all those things that need to kind of be working in their mouth. That's very helpful as well. All right, so
Training or something. Yep.
any questions so far?
Thank you.
Vacuum system for this to go
Yeah,
stand.
behind you. On the wall.
And there is a step-by-step thing in your folders that you can look through for the setup. Christine is colored for it with the duct tape, purple to purple, green to green.
Generally, you're going to have it around a patient's hip, kind of like that. Again, just kind of keep asking them questions, how they're feeling. They should be obviously very conscious during this, and one of the benefits for them, obviously, it kind of acts a little bit like Valium, but it doesn't really add anything to their system. Again, it retracts just with a few minutes of oxygen, and it really kind of makes time seem kind of messed up for them. It goes very quickly, so they may be on nitrous for 20, 30 minutes, and it might only seem like 5. But again, the whole time they're able to interact with you. Okay, so this is going to be for just your straight oxygen. Again, just kind of be aware of that bag in terms of flow. Any other questions?
What's that in your hand?
This should be, just be a mask for oxygen. If you feel like
okay.
you need to flush some oxygen through, kind of turn that valve and then it'll just be oxygen only.
So on here, when he's holding that now,
Oh,
sorry,
absolutely.
you'll notice on this dial, and you might have to come up and kind of look at it later, but there's a little notch on each side. And what you're going to want to do is turn that dial, and you're only going to be running one of these lines at a time. Okay? And now, when you start it up, and he says that 3/4 full is what we want that bag, and to watch, that's what we're watching. So say the patient got anxious, they're hyperventilating, and the bag just blew up and there's no more room. Now I just manually squeezed it. He was talking about how we want to give them some flush or burst of air. There's this green button. I hold that. That's only flushing oxygen to them. When you flush that, know though that your patient's going to go kind of like they just stepped into a wind tunnel, because it is going straight through their mask. So you might want to warn your patient they're going to get kind of a flush of oxygen. Otherwise, it kind of scares them a little bit. And so you'll flush that to about halfway because they're respiratory, and you're going to flush it as needed. If you overflush it, then just squeeze the bag and collapse that. Okay. But sometimes too, what we can do is if somebody's very anxious, we may use that face mask. When they go down, we'll maintain them with the nasal one. Okay? And so that's why we would want to hook up both sets.
All right. Again, in terms of the only other thing you want to know about the machine, it will alarm when one of the tanks is low. And again, you first of all, you silence the alarm by pushing the button. You slide that open and see which tank needs to be switched. Just take the key, turn one off, turn the other one on. It should momentarily start right back up.